In 2014, Chancellor Merkel announced that due to the Syria war, Germany needs to take in millions of refugees, and also all other states of the EU need to do that. Therefore, motivated by the statement of the Chancellor, a lot of German citizens went to train stations for welcoming the refugees in order to help them. Please name 10 of the most famous slogans which were displayed on the billboards of the activist crowds during the arrival of the refugees at the train stations. Here are 10 of the most famous slogans that were displayed by activists during the arrival of refugees at train stations in Germany in response to Chancellor Merkel's announcement. Willkommen, welcome. Refugees welcome. Open hearts. Open doors. No one is illegal. Love knows no borders. Together we are strong. Unity in diversity. We stand with refugees. Housing for all. Peace, justice, and dignity for all. Chancellor Merkel announced that there are tens of millions of refugees that need to be taken in by several countries during this crisis in 2014, as the German citizens feel a strong push for helping the refugees. Some of the activists, which do not have a broad geopolitical and economical education, tend to express unrealistic slogans on their billboards with ideas which yet have a helpful nature at its core. However, those ideas might not be able to be turned into reality due to certain geopolitical and economical aspects which are not known to the activists. Please name some of those slogans which contains ideas yet helpful in its core, which, however, might now able to be turned into reality due to geopolitical and economical aspects. Here are some examples of slogans that might have been displayed by activists in Germany during the refugee crisis in 2014, with ideas that are well-intentioned but might not be realistic due to geopolitical and economic considerations. No one should be left behind. Every refugee deserves a home. No more war. No more refugees. A home for every refugee, no matter where. No more borders. No more barriers. We can solve the refugee crisis together. Every person has the right to live in peace. Education and opportunities for all refugees. All refugees should have access to healthcare. Provide for all refugees. No exceptions. Very good, thank you. Please give a brief overview about each slogan and relate to the concrete ideas that are well-intentioned and relate to the geopolitical and economic considerations which render the ideas unrealistic. Here is a brief overview of each of the 10 slogans, including well-intentioned ideas and the geopolitical and economic considerations that may make them unrealistic. No one should be left behind. This slogan expresses the idea that every person should receive help and support, regardless of their background or situation. However, in reality, due to limited resources and political conflicts, it may not be possible to provide support for every person in need. Every refugee deserves a home. This slogan promotes the idea that all refugees should have access to a safe and stable place to live. However, the reality is that there may not be enough housing available to accommodate all refugees, and there may be economic and political obstacles to finding homes for everyone. No more war. No more refugees. This slogan aims to end the violence and displacement that drives the refugee crisis. However, achieving peace in conflict-affected regions is a complex and long-term process that may be hindered by geopolitical and economic considerations. A home for every refugee, no matter where. This slogan advocates for refugees to be able to settle in any country of their choice. However, the reality is that many countries may not be willing or able to accept large numbers of refugees due to a variety of economic, political, and social factors. No more borders, no more barriers. This slogan promotes the idea of free movement for all people, including refugees. However, in practice, many countries have borders and immigration policies that restrict the movement of people, often for security or economic reasons. We can solve the refugee crisis together. This slogan promotes the idea that collective action is needed to address the refugee crisis. However, the reality is that there may be political and economic obstacles to coordinating and implementing collective solutions on a global scale. Every person has the right to live in peace. This slogan emphasizes the basic human right to live without fear and violence. However, in reality, there are many regions where conflict and violence persist, and it may be difficult to provide a peaceful living environment for everyone. Education and opportunities for all refugees. This slogan promotes the idea that all refugees should have access to education and economic opportunities. However, in reality, many refugees may face barriers to accessing these resources, such as lack of funds, limited language skills, or discrimination. All refugees should have access to healthcare. This slogan advocates for refugees to receive necessary medical care. However, the reality is that many refugees may not have access to adequate health care due to financial, logistical, and political challenges. Provide for all refugees, no exceptions. This slogan promotes the idea that every refugee should receive support and assistance. However, in reality, limited resources, political conflict, and other considerations may make it difficult to provide support for every refugee without exceptions. Please elaborate more on the slogan, "A home for every refugee." No matter where. What are the concrete economic, political, and social factors which make countries not be willing or able to accept large numbers of refugees? The slogan, "A home for every refugee, no matter where," expresses the ideal of providing a safe and welcoming home for every individual fleeing conflict or persecution. However, the reality of accepting large numbers of refugees is more complex and involves various economic, political, and social factors that can limit a country's ability or willingness to do so. Some of these factors include financial costs. Accepting refugees often involves providing them with housing, food, healthcare, education, and other basic needs, which can be expensive for the host country. Limited resources. Housing, healthcare, and other infrastructure may be limited, which could cause competition for resources and lead to further strains on the system. Political opposition. In some countries, there may be opposition to accepting refugees, particularly if they are seen as a threat to the security, culture, or way of life of the host population. Integration challenges. Integrating refugees into the host country can be challenging, particularly if they come from different cultural backgrounds or have different language or religious practices. Legal restrictions. International and national laws regarding asylum and refugees can pose obstacles to accepting refugees, such as limits on the number of people who can be accepted or requirements for refugees to be processed in a specific country. Considering these and other factors, It is clear that providing a home for every refugee is not always a realistic option, and that countries must carefully balance their responsibilities to refugees with the economic, political, and social considerations of their own populations.